Hello. Hello,
Hey.
hello. Are we live? I think we are. Super. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome. We're in London from our Blink studio. I'm very excited. I'll introduce our special guest very soon. But before I do, please, let me know where you're joining from. It'll be lovely to see where you're all from. And how is the weather? I'm sorry, but I could not ask because I'm British. Please jump on the chat and say hello to everyone and good afternoon or good morning and let me know where you're joining from. Hang on, can't actually see the chat. There we go. Super. Right. Hello. We've got Pittsburgh.
Amazing.
We've got the Northwest, Louisville. Definitely pronounced that wrong. Middleton, Philadelphia. Hello, everyone. Manchester. Hi, gang. We're going to get started very shortly. I just wanted to say hello and to start us off a little poll just to see how you are today.
I love that.
What would you be, Hayley? Are you feeling fabulous?
am feeling fabulous. I think Thursday's the new Friday.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though it says tomorrow's Friday, I think yay, today's Thursday.
Okay. It's yay, it's Thursday. Fair enough. Super duper. Right. Hi, everyone. Ohio, Texas, Canada. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited. In case you can't tell, we are joined today by with Hayley to talk about how to make internal comms go viral.
Yes.
So before I crack on with all my exciting questions I've got to ask Hayley, hello.
Hey.
Could you tell everybody a bit about yourself and
Yeah.
why you're with us today?
Yeah. So my name is Hayley Melinda. I'm a speaker and consultant, and I'm very passionate about helping leaders and corporations engage with their Gen Z teams and retain Gen Z talent. Especially because this is the first time I would say ever that in the workplace we're seeing five different types of generations. This is really a multi-generational and an intergenerational time,
Yeah.
right? And this is the time that people have to engage with Gen Z, especially because they really are the disruptor. They're the disruptor generation,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean, with the TikToks, with the short form content. And because short form content has now come in and, impacted not only how we think and how we process things, but it actually impacts the way organizations have to run and have to work.
Totally.
So, so I've been doing speaking for 12 years. I started speaking at the age of 15. I know a lot
Amazing.
of people think, what were you speaking about? Listen, when you're 15 years old, there's two options. You either pursue it as a career or you get detention. And I just decided, hey, let me do it the right way and pursue a career in it.
Amazing.
And so that's kind of me. Love all things fun, dance, listen to lots of grime, lots of rap. Afro beats, and yeah, I love smiling. I love people.
Okay, well, I feel like she's in the right place.
Yeah.
We've got a musical question later.
Oh, okay,
So,
I love it. Let's
hold
go.
that thought.
Okay.
Right, so the chat is open, everybody, and we've also got a Q&A box in the Zoom, which I'm sure you're used to using. So any questions for Hayley throughout, plot those in there. But likewise, we've got an amazing community of people that have joined today. So obviously use the chat function to swap ideas and challenges. I know this is a hot topic right now. What's everybody saying? Oh, we've got low volume from the presenters. Bear with. The production team is working on it.
Volume better. 1 2 1 2.
Hello. Is that helping? Hello? Ines, should I select? Bear with everybody. Sorry, we're just asking Ines. She's in charge of everything.
It's on max.
It's
Oh,
on maximum.
it says how good to me. It
I
says
can hear well. We can hear you, but it's very low. It does look very low on here. Hang on a second. I bet this is on maximum, but it is saying that it's very low. Audio's fine for some, low for others. I'm so sorry, bear with us. Mine is also on 100% and can barely hear you.
1 2 1 2. What if I put
Could
it
I get a
first?
few thumbs up or thumbs down? How are we sounding?
I'll put it up a bit higher.
Excellent here. Oh, we've got some thumbs up. Still quite low. Maybe we should speak more like this into our microphones.
Yeah, it might have to be more
Okay.
into the mic. Sorry, guys, we're getting up and personal.
Hello.
Someone said shout.
Hello.
Hello,
People that can hear is going to be deafened by that. I'm so sorry. We've tweaked the sound level, so let us know if that's made it any better. This session is also being recorded, so do not worry if it's really difficult to hear. It is being recorded and will be available on demand. I'm so sorry if that's an us problem. We're trying our best over here to fix some audio bits. But Hayley, thank you for the intro. And hopefully we'll have some great questions throughout.
Yeah.
And we'll be diving in.
Yeah.
However, before we get started, I just want to run another poll with everybody that's here, because I'd like to understand how you all would be describing your Gen Z engagement right now. If you took a bit of a litmus test, what would that look like? So hopefully a poll should be popping up very soon. Maybe not, but that will be with you shortly. And it's how would you describe your engagement right now? But a good place to start, I think, Hayley, is a good place to start is really understanding Gen Z.
Yes.
I think the term is thrown around a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you working with Gen Z? Do you have a big proportion of Gen Z in your workforce? How are you engaging Gen Z? And I want to get a little bit into the DNA of Gen Z. Let's really understand that audience. So when we think about Gen Z in the workplace today, what do you think is important to them? And like, what's going to get them excited?
I think one thing you have to understand is that you can't box Gen Z all into the same category. I think there's sometimes the assumption just because somebody's young, they know the same music artists, they eat the same food, they're in the same places, they drink the same drinks, they eat the same, foods, as I just said. But I think it's really important to understand that a generation is different passions. And I would actually say that their passions are a bit more vast than previous generations because they've been exposed to way more, way younger. So let's say, for example, for me, being able to pursue public speaking, for example, I had the option of pursuing that way younger because it was presented to me as an option at the age of 15.
Yeah.
So that's the same with, I know a lot of people who fall into the category of Gen Z and they've been coding for a long time. So even when I was in year seven is what would that be in terms of
So
like
like
Americans?
age
It's
12.
middle school.
Yeah,
Is that-
11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the age of 11, I was coding on MySpace. So I learned to code
That
at the
is
age of 11.
really cool.
But when you think about it, I didn't know it was coding though.
Right.
Because I just wanted to tweak my MySpace. I just wanted to change it pink. So I had to learn on YouTube, how do you change your MySpace layout to pink, or how do you change your Blogspot? Because I used to blog back in the day as well. How can I change my Blogspot to orange? I didn't know that was coding. I can't code now, but I didn't know at the time that at 11 years old, I was learning to code.
Yeah.
I was learning to do all these things.
Yeah.
Now, when you're having conversations with those who, as I said, fall into the category of Gen Z, they come back with that feedback. Even when I think about Sims, listen, guys, I'll be real. I used to play Sims and I didn't like the fact that Sims I was low on money. So I'd done the hack on Sims. Anybody plays
We've
Sims
all been
here?
there.
Yeah, you put the hack and then
This is a safe
it's like a
space.
code and then you can get like $1 million and you build the big mansion and then you end up creating a family that has 1,000 dogs. That was me.
1,000 dogs.
Yeah, I used to literally
Interesting.
get
Okay.
dogs and all of that. And I just wanted my Sims to have money so they could build houses because I liked building on Sims. So I needed $1 million to make sure I could build the mansion on Sims, right? And I didn't know that was a skill I was developing. So when I think about Gen Z, they are highly skillful and a lot of them don't even realize it. And they may not recognize it. And as I said, because we got exposed to our passions very early, that means that now you're in a workplace that has diverse passions, diverse interests, diverse lifestyles.
Yeah.
And I think it's an exciting time. But I think the worst thing you could do as an organization is to box them and think they're all the same.
Absolutely. And I even think when you say there's a lot of passions, I think it's almost the level of passion as well. It's more intense.
Do you know what the thing is?
and in a good way.
Definitely in a good
Yeah.
way. I think now what's happening in the world is that a lot of people are not just passionate, they're value-led. I think a lot of, and let me be quite honest, generations before were quite quiet about their values. So if you
Was
conservative,
it maybe more private?
it definitely was made more private.
Yeah.
Everyone knew. Politics you don't talk about, religion you don't talk about,
Yeah.
may not talk about sexuality, relationship status. You may not talk about,
No.
as let me be, as not vague, as detailed here, even periods. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
even
that would be a big taboo.
big taboo. But now we've got campaigns all over in terms of literally from Flow app. Who would have thought Flow being
Yes,
one of the
on a
most
billboard.
downloaded? Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like the conversations in terms of what we're able to talk about in our generation is because of the passion, the values. And let me be honest, one thing I definitely would say in terms of Gen Z is I think they're looking for humans. I think they're looking for human conversations.
Yeah.
I think that's why we have more passion because they're now looking for the people that are willing to stand by human conversations.
Yeah.
What are the conversations that I'm having at home that if I can't have these conversations in the workplace, maybe this isn't for me?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally. And I think back to that sort of like those values, when we think about the workplace and what's important for Gen Z, obviously you'd have all of your personal values, but do you feel that's impactful from an organization to be a very value-led organization and lead with those sorts of things to maybe attract Gen Z or to make them feel like they really belong in that organization with the right values as well?
110%. Your greatest ambassadors are your employees. So if you don't have employees that align with your values, number one, every organization needs a North Star. Where are you going?
Yeah.
You know, this is something that I believe in terms of an organization. You don't measure an organization's impact by where the organization is going to be in 10 years' time. You measure it by where the industry is going to be in 10 years' time because you existed. So where does integrating with employee integration and employee retention, where does that industry exist because Blink it existed? You know, what does that industry look like because Blink existed?
I mean, it's a great place.
Oh, yeah, perfect. You know, what does the fast food industry look like because McDonald's existed?
Yeah.
What does the retail industry look like because IKEA existed?
Yeah, it's that impact.
It's that impact. So I think a lot of Gen Z want to also be part of organizations that are clear about where they're going and the impact they want to make. Because I think a lot of the times you can say, hey, listen, we live in a commercial world. So any corporation can say, hey, we want to turn over this at the end of the month. But it's even greater when an organization can say, we want to turn over this, but we also want to be able to see end food poverty by being able to recycle more of this so that we can cut down on this cost. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think being much clearer on some of those more traditional lofty goals.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess on the flip side to this question, Hayley, is what would turn a Gen Z employee person off a workplace? You know, on the flip side, what's actively should organizations not be doing?
I think trying to be everything.
Yeah.
Stop being ingenuine. Stop partaking in conversations that you don't care about. Listen, I'm going to say something that a lot of this may, what do you call it, tickle some feathers. But the reality is, especially because I'm Black. So I understand that in 2020, when Black Lives Matter happened, and even when the Me Too movement happened as a woman, I understand that there were some organizations that just jumped on it as reactive rather than being proactive. I'm sure there was many boardroom members that are scattering. They're like, oh my gosh, George Floyd, we need to release something. And then they released something that was so tone deaf because they had no insight and they had no care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Very powerful. And I think that's just the lead with authenticity point you've already
110%.
made. I remember where I was working, you know, at the time, and everyone was jumping on to post a black tile on social media. And it's like, Georgie, why aren't we posting this? I said, well, we're not doing anything. I don't feel that we can post this. I think that's it, isn't it? It's internally, what are you doing as an organization to then be proud to be sharing those initiatives and those things. Okay, getting into the weeds slightly because we're here for tactics, we're here for good nuggets from Hayley. I want to talk about crafting good messages.
Yes.
Because we talked about Gen Z want humans, we've talked about being authentic, but you know, hopefully everybody here today has got a communications or internal communications hat on.
Yeah.
And so how do we go about crafting those messages? And I think, you know, memes are a great language, but also Gen Z have got a lot of their own language. I'll put my hand up to say I'm a painful millennial. So I've been learning a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of millennials on the call, so that's why we're here, right? We're here to learn. But memes have really become, for example, a language of currency, you know, in today's social sphere.
Right.
You're saying right, as in no, they're not, Georgie. Memes are so 10 years ago.
Memes are so necessary. Memes communicate the emotions and feelings that sometimes your words cannot.
Yes.
So let me go into this, guys. It's been a big, for those who are American, those who are not here, in terms of London, we've had a serious week where we had the EastEnders live episode. I'm an EastEnders girl, right? Why do I have to bring this up? because the memes that came out from that live episode were priceless. So one of the things that a lot of people need to understand when understanding trends is understanding the micro and the macro. So in terms of EastEnders, the memes and that will come out of it is going to be micro,
Right.
in terms of when you watch it, when you watch the memes with context, it's so much funnier. So you might see a Phil Mitchell, being upset, and you're like, oh, the character of Phil, you understand him.
Yeah.
But if somebody who doesn't understand or watch EastEnders sees a Phil meme, they might just think, oh, this is a bold
is a
guy
bold
who's
guy, yeah.
angry.
Funny,
right,
but
quite
yeah.
funny, but you don't understand the context of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's really being able to understand what is trending and being able to understand what memes are coming from what's trending. So there's a lot of, memes that came from a Super Bowl, for example. So
Yeah.
Super Bowl, Grammys, we had the Beyonce being shocked. We had Kendrick Lamar's performance where a lot of memes came out of that. Serena Williams, crip walking, iconic.
Totally.
So there was so many memes that came out of it, but without context, some of the memes may not have been as effectual, as effective.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, with the Beyonce being shocked that she won her Grammy, if you weren't watching the Grammy and if you weren't understanding context that, listen, this is somebody who collaborated and went into doing a country album, she's hip hop, she's R&B, Beyonce basically diverted into a complete different category. She was shocked 110%.
Yeah.
But the meme is still funny because it's Beyonce. It's
Yeah.
like Beyonce.
She's so composed and perfect. Yeah. It was a genuine shock,
Right,
wasn't it?
it's a genuine shock for her. But I think also these memes will convey a message that a lot of organizations should delve more into and not be lazy and just post, hey, Beyonce, a lot of the times with some organizations, what they do is they jump on the meme wagon and they take it completely out of context. It's just kind of like, okay, this meme's trending, let's just use it. Similar to what I just said. Guys, if you don't care for the topic, don't use it. And I also think it's really important to utilize memes that align with what you're trying to push.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you have a product you're trying to sell and it's on a sale. Let's say, for example, it's a Black Friday sale.
Yeah.
Using the Beyonce meme and saying, can't believe that this just dropped from $7.99 to $5.99. Shock, right? Do you know what I mean? Or the perfect one that I saw in terms of Kendrick Lamar. In the Super Bowl, he was dancing and he was going rounds, and United Airlines used the meme and said, this is me looking at my bag going on the carousel. Perfect.
Yeah, and perfect timing. 'Cause it was
Perfect
very
timing. It was
quick
literally,
after
it
the
was
Grammys.
literally the day after, the morning after they used it. And anyone that travels knows one of the worst waits is for your bag.
Yeah.
It's the carousel. It's seeing your bag go around. You're looking and you're literally following your bag go around because sometimes
Is
you
this my
can't catch
bag?
it.
Yeah.
You can't catch it
Missed
straight
the
away.
opportunity. Yeah.
So yeah.
And Hayley, do you think, I mean, I know those examples are memes being used well. EastEnders is a British
soap.
British soap. Hopefully you got that from a Bald Man classic
Right.
British TV show. But do you think these can be used well internally, like to communicate internal messages?
Oh, 110%. Like what I just said, Gen Zs are human. They want to have the human conversation. They want to have the banter.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing way of being able to break the formal barrier that a lot of corporations have internally. Like just being able to smile, to banter, to hug. How do you expect me to show up to a team meeting if I don't think you're human?
And exactly like what you said earlier, when it's actually a meme is a great it's a great thing to use if you can't, use your words or articulate yourself.
Right.
It does encapsulate an emotion.
Everything. Like if generally everyone, like, you may not be the prettiest person in the room, you may not even be the tallest person or the bulkiest person, but if you're the funniest person, everyone wants to be around you. It's true. If you're funny, everyone wants to be around you, right? So when I think about memes and the person that makes effort to really bring humor and bring humanity into the workplace, I'm going to want to be around you. I'm going to want to stay in this workplace. Since we're talking about Gen Z retention and also talking about internal comms, it's being able to create a safe space that someone says, actually, I feel comfortable to be myself here. Yeah. And then they start sending their own memes. Yeah. And then now you create a whole meme library.
Perfect. That's the dream, right?
Right, the dream.
And I just want to do a bit of a shameless plug, everybody. Sorry, I mean, you're here, you're on a Blink webinar. I couldn't not show you Blink.
Come on.
But I think, again, this is a great opportunity if you have an employee app to jump on these opportunities with the guidance, that Hayley has given us around being current, being reactive in the right way if it's authentic. If you have a great feed that's sort of image first heavy, being able to really showcase these trends on the right way, and it's driving a place where people feel safe, engaging, reacting, and then hopefully jumping on that and sharing their own. Sorry, shameless plug number one. There may be a few more. I also just want to run one other poll as well. We talked about what was our last one around being challenging, or what was our biggest challenge? But Amelia, who's also in the production team, could you run our next poll for everyone? And Hayley, I saw some great comments actually on the last poll with people like, I can't choose just one answer. I don't know which one to pick from, because I do think it's showing that you can't just box into one challenge, one problem, etc.
Yeah.
So next, I also want to dive into social media. I think it's very easy to say, yeah, we'll just take all the trends from social media and replicate that in the workplace. And do we borrow from social media? Do we not? And I always felt, if I rewind to 10 years, when I was joining the workplace, 10 plus years, it was a bit of a stale environment, because I was coming from somewhere that was very social, very interactive, and then you have all these big old-fashioned clunky work systems, and it's actually a bit of a jarring experience. So we talk a lot at Blink about creating this like social grade employee experience, so that experience isn't as jarring in and out of the workplace.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Gen Z, like, what do you think that really means, and what do you think that could or should look like in terms of that experience from in the workplace?
Yeah, I think borrowing from social media, I think, is super important, because I think you're able to really understand trends and also talk about the trends that are shaping culture right now. We have to understand that we've got particular trends that are genuinely shaping culture. And if you don't have insight on those trends, it's not that you're necessarily outdated, but you may be missing the momentum and missing the opportunity to have a discussion point, a talking point, right? So as I said, hey, as somebody who's an EastEnders fan in the UK, that was a big conversation, even to the extent that Box Park Wembley, which is a gathering place here in London, they leveraged the fact that there's a lot of EastEnders fans, and they did a live streaming of a live episode.
Nice.
Like, I think that's amazing in terms of borrowing off social media, seeing there's a lot of people who are anticipating the live episode, and then creating a space and an opportunity for people to come together and discuss. Now, imagine doing something like that in the workplace.
Totally.
Like, imagine there being, particular things that you're aware of that's about to happen, like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm sure in terms of America, there may have been particular colleagues that have gathered together to watch the Super Bowl together. Or, in London, it may be, it may be the World Cup when England is playing. So I think it's important to know what's trending, what conversations are happening, and then ensuring that you're involving, as I said, let it be multi-generational, because I know even though we're talking about Gen Z trends, one of the things I definitely think is important is that Gen Zs also learn from other generations. And I think the only way that we can have a conversation that is inclusive and a conversation that integrates well is being able to have all types of people being able to be at that conversation in terms of the social media front. Because listen, even though MySpace is outdated, it's still, I personally think as Gen Z, we still like to have the conversations that are nostalgic in terms of, hey, what was MySpace? Remember MySpace? You could play music as soon as you went onto the page.
Yeah.
You can't do that on Instagram.
Have your top friends.
You're at top friends, right?
Yeah.
You can't have that on LinkedIn. You can't have that on TikTok. But it still is quite, nostalgic, and it still opens up a different conversation. So I think borrowing from social media, as I said, allows the opportunity for particular conversations to take place and educate each other on a multi-generational level.
And what do you think about the actual interface of the experience? Because if you think, you wake up in the morning, hands in the air, yes, I do look at social media,
Yeah,
a bit
of
of
course.
doom scrolling, but we come to work and maybe we have a very clunky experience of, let me just log into this old system to book my holiday or my learning and development. Do you think we should be replicating a real social heavy, familiar, strong user experience so that Gen Z are naturally more engaged in the workplace?
we're a creature of habits.
Yeah.
So I think if you are going to replicate it, it would work to your advantage because we're a creature of habits. Listen, let's be honest in terms of the interfaces, the UX and the UI design of all these different social media apps. They're all very similar, from TikTok to YouTube Shorts to Instagram.
They have really started
it's got the scroll option,
Yeah.
clickable, and also we've got to also check. This is why it's so interesting to look at social media because each app disrupts the other app. So when TikTok came, it completely disrupted the Instagram algorithm. Before TikTok came with videos, Instagram was focusing on pictures.
Yeah.
Now they came and said, "Oh my gosh, we have to do a real feature."
Yeah.
What did YouTube do? Oh my gosh, we've got to do the shorts feature.
Yeah.
Right? But that came from TikTok first starting the disruption.
Yeah.
So if you're not aware of, particular things happening, said on social media, and if you're not aware of the design, it's going to be really hard to, in terms of the interface, to create something that people are used to.
Yeah.
And as I said, we're a creature of habit. So if you are used to one app happening, if you implement it on another app, it'll be easier for us to navigate.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think about, my parents in the workplace, and if, they had like this social feel of an app, I think they'd think, oh, they would know how to use it because they've got social media. So I think generations would use it, but all so differently. Like the engagement across those different employee groups would be so different. You know, I think. Sorry, shameless plug.
Come on,
number two. Even just the element of being able to have post a story. I can't imagine
I love that.
my father would post a story. He would definitely scroll, read company news. Oh, brilliant, there's some updates. But a Gen Z would go and straight and view the stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Would they, sit and necessarily read the newsletter for the CEO, or would they see the story.
And the
that leader has posted?
The reason why I love the story element, human. You're seeing, who would you connect better to? The person that posts a story or the person that is writing a long article?
Yeah.
You're going to relate to the person that got tone, humanity, hearing, seeing the eye contact.
Definitely.
And I think even having that story element, that came from Snapchat. When you think about Snapchat was the thing that started the stories, then went to Instagram.
Yeah.
But I love that, there's that integration of humanity in terms of the app that allows better connection with employees. So yeah, I love that.
Definitely. And we recently launched with a sort of major retailer. And I was so excited to see how they were going to use stories because this is absolutely prime, like Gen Z demographic. And I obviously went and chatted to them and tell them all about Blink, and obviously didn't get a huge amount back because I'm sort of like overly jolly 30 something and you've got very young teenage boys saying, what are you doing here? And looking at their app engagement, it's hundreds of stories. They're so excited. They're posting how they've dressed mannequins, what their stores are looking like, what they're up to on payday. And it's just driving amazing engagement with that group. It's been amazing to see the uptake of something so simple that we use every day in our lives. Like, I love an Instagram story myself. That doesn't necessarily work with other generations. So I think a mix of those trends and those features in an employee app can, complement your social media feel in your personal life as well.
Yeah, for sure.
What would be your go-to emoji?
My go-to emoji.
Yeah, if you had to react to something that was human and fun and lighthearted.
No, what is my go-to emoji? Actually, I'd use a lot of laughing emojis.
As in rolling on the floor?
That's
Okay.
literally always my laughing
That's
emoji.
the extreme one. Yeah.
Literally, I'm always using that all the time.
Love it.
And yeah, heart. I use the kind of shy face, like in terms of when you're like, oh, like that's
Stop.
kind of literally I use that
Like the bashful one.
quite a lot
Love
as
it.
well. So yeah.
Amazing. Super. I want to also talk about social media in terms of, I know we've talked a lot about trends, but hashtags. Are hashtags in? Are they out?
I don't think hashtags are that relevant.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think hashtags are that relevant if I'm being honest.
Hold it first.
I don't think hashtags are that relevant. I think before, when people would post on social media, they think that if I post with a hashtag, it's going to views.
Yep.
But now now the algorithm, because the algorithm is a bit more tailored to people's interests, because obviously the algorithm knows what you're scrolling, what you're looking for on your SEO. It's more so that now the algorithm pushes content that you're interested in to you. So you don't need to go on hashtags to find it. Whereas 5 years ago, the algorithm was not as detailed as it is now. So yeah, hashtags, it's still, you can still use it.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to get the actual authentic, trends that are taking place, because a lot of content creators
Are using it
are
just
using
for...
it just to post now.
Yeah.
They're not using the hashtag. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because when Hayley and I had a chat before she joined us today, I was like, tell me about hashtags. If, you know, a comms leader is trying to understand a trend in the marketplace and maybe mirror that or jump on that, should they be using hashtags? And I do remember Hayley, you were saying, no, they need to be diving into micro trends, because what people are, those trends we spoke about, whether it's Phil Mitchell with EastEnders, or I guess Kendrick Lamar isn't exactly a micro trend, but how do you mirror how people are being influenced? Because that's quite powerful as well, right?
Yeah.
If a comms leader is knowing who's influencing their employees, it's an opportunity to think, how do I tie that back internally to
Yeah.
how I can use that for better engagement and better sort of employee involvement as well?
Yeah, I think it's really important to know the influencers within in Gen Z. And what I mean by that is there's micro and macro influencers, like what I just said. There's the influencers that are very niche. So let's say, for example, there could be a particular influencer based in Atlanta that could be an Atlanta chef, and only those in Atlanta would really know who they are.
Yep.
But they have a huge following in Atlanta. But if they come to London, they may not necessarily have that community per se.
Yeah.
But they are still influencing the food demographic and the food world down
foodies,
south in America, right? And then we've got, let's say, for example, the macro influencer. So a great example would be someone like Mr. Beast. So someone like Mr. Beast, who is the most viewed and the most subscribed YouTuber in the world right now. So when he does a video, he's getting millions of views literally in an hour.
Yeah.
So when you are...
That's crazy,
It's
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
It's literally crazy. Or you've got like a Kai Cenat. And the interesting thing about macro and micro is the micro can become macro. We have someone like Kai Cenat, who was a micro influencer in the streaming world.
Yeah.
He's actually the most subscribed person on Twitch right now.
I'm glad you explained that, because when you told me, I was like, who's this?
Yeah, so Twitch is a huge thing. So this is about Gen Z as well. Not only are we moving to the world of YouTube Live, we're now moving to the world of gaming and streaming. So now that's another conversation.
Yeah, and if people are spending their time there, being influenced by these people,
because we have young people who are also at home.
Yeah.
Let's think about this. Post-COVID, who wanted to go into the office? People weren't trying to go into the office in terms of COVID. So now we've got people who now are having hybrid roles, and now in their spare time, rather than going, out with their friends, they've only got an hour during their remote working hours. Let me jump on a game and talk to my friends rather than going out to the shop, because COVID changed the way we actually interacted as a whole.
Yeah, that community element switched.
That community element switched. It became more digital.
Yeah.
Because when you think about, the YouTube lives, when you think about the even Twitter spaces, X spaces now, when you think about the different apps and the different things that social media done to integrate digital community, Twitch was also one of them. So Kai Cenat was a micro influencer. He was somebody who was known for gaming. He was known for gaming. And now he's more or less a macro influencer. He went to the Grammys and he live streamed the Grammys on his Twitch.
Amazing.
Grammys has never done that before. They've never had an influencer coming to live stream on Twitch. And that's how you know it's becoming macro, because now he's part of the wider conversations.
Yeah.
Now he's trending. And even last year, Kai Cenat did 30 days non-stop streaming. So he streamed 24 hours for 30 days.
That sounds tiring.
It does, but that's how extreme it was.
Yeah.
And he had Serena Williams on there. He had Snoop Dogg on there. He had
How are we spelling Kai Cenat? Should I
Kai
know?
Cenat is Kai space CENAT. So if you've got any gamers, if you have any young people in your organizations that are gamers, or any young people in your organization who watch short form content, Kai Cenat, Mr. Beast, and even with Kai Cenat, he's part of a bigger group called AMP.
Right.
And that is a YouTube group. It's here in the UK, we've got something called Sidemen and Beta Squad. So these are literally YouTubers that just come together and just do pranks. They do challenges, and they get millions of views all the time. So
And I think it's tough though, isn't it? Because how does a comms leader stay on top of all of these things? But I think you've given some good tips here to try and understand the difference between the micro trends, the macro trends, and seeing how we could use those internally as well to drive better engagement, through being human as well. Maybe with the odd meme. Okay, next on my list is employees.
Yes.
You said earlier they're your biggest, advocates, your biggest ambassadors, right? And I feel hopefully we all know that they are closest to your customers, sometimes now more so than they ever have been. And it could be really powerful to get users, to get employees. Like, how do you empower them to be ambassadors? How do you get them to create their own content? Because it's so much more powerful. I was explaining about this retailer that had got their staff posting, the new mannequins, obviously with the new stock that arrived. That is a lot more powerful, all of those employees generating their own content rather than it constantly coming from just the leadership team or just the internal comms team. So I'm going to say that user-generated content is all the rage.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hooked on TikTok, so
Yeah.
I'm doom scrolling. If I need to kill some time, that's where I am.
Yeah.
But it's coming for internal comms, and I think it's hopefully really the next movement of comms leaders being able to really get users generating content. How do you think comms leaders can connect with their people to empower them to be content creators?
I'll go back to what I just said before. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Be genuine. Be genuine. Don't force it because it's your job.
Yeah.
Speak to them like they're human beings. I always say, before you are a director or a leader, it's likely that you may be a brother, a sister, a mother, a friend. That's what is the most important thing. Connect with someone from that place, because then it will be genuine. So I was seeing some comments here in terms of the fact that a statement was Gen Z get thrown off from the "we are a family" term.
Yes, I saw that comment.
Right. I do agree with that. Of course they're going to get thrown off if we're not a real family.
Yeah.
If you don't...
It doesn't feel like
Right,
family,
if
but
you
you're
don't-
throwing that around.
Right. If you're saying a word that there's no integrity in the values, there's no family values in the organization, of course I'm going to get irritated if you say we are family. Because if you're not showing that you care about me as a human being and you're only just asking me as a tick box, and as a speaker, a lot of organizations bring me for tick box. I always say, listen, if you're only going to book me in October, here in the UK, October is Black History Month. If you're only interested to book me in October, me and you don't need to work together.
Love it.
Because that means it's tick box, and now it means it's
Then
ingenuine.
it's not genuine.
And it's not genuine,
Yeah.
right? So it's really being able to challenge organizations in terms of comms. Do not talk on something that you have no care for, because it will come across tone deaf, and also people will sniff that it is nonsense.
Just reading some of the comments. Thank you, everyone. We've got some people here saying, still trying to get our older leadership members to accept. Oh, my glasses don't read that far enough. Hang on. The questions are coming closer to me.
Right.
Oh, that's so much better. Contractions over here. Totally. That's mad. I'm sorry you got that struggle. And Hayley, what are your thoughts on, say we talk about an organization that's got 100,000 plus employees.
Yeah.
You're sitting in the comms team, you might be a small team, and you might wholeheartedly believe in everything that you're talking about today. But how do you get those connections when maybe you're quite disconnected?
Because you
as
have
well?
a big organization.
And maybe they're all in stores or restaurants or in hospitals. How do you get those human, authentic connections with people, do you think?
I would say build relationship with the people who influence them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if you are, let's say, for example, an organization that's got a restaurant or particular shops, find out who are the people that people like in that shop.
Yeah.
Build relationship with them.
Yeah.
Because when that person advocates for you, everyone in that place will respect you.
listen.
Even if they don't know you, they've never met you. Listen, I've been in particular places that when someone I respect, like say for example, my mum, I love my mum so much. When my mum tells me there's a particular auntie that she loves or particular friend she loves, when I meet that friend, I'm like, auntie,
I love you too.
I love you. Like, even though I didn't know you and I didn't meet you, right? There's like, it's like, the best I can say in context is like, your friend, the friend that you love, and they've got a really good friend, instantly they become your friend.
Yeah.
You don't need to have my number. I just respect you. Imagine that in the same organization. If you are a leader, if you're a CEO, if you're C-suite, or if you are a CMO, whatever place you're at, you don't even need to be C-suite level. Whatever level, find out who are the people who are on the ground. Find out the people that have the influence.
Yeah.
Find out the people who, as I said, actually care. connect with them.
Yeah.
And I'm big on reverse mentoring. One of the things that I do with a lot of organizations is helping them implement reverse mentoring. The reason why I'm so big on reverse mentoring is because you get to hear the stories, examples, you get to connect to the people that you may not come across in your everyday life. So I'm very big on go to a different department within your workforce, someone who does not look like you, sound like you. A lot of my friends are older white men who would have never come across an inner city girl who comes from African descent. They would never we would have never been friends in an ideal world.
Yeah.
Cross paths because they would have gone to a private school up north and I went to an inner city school and we end up now merging. And I have a lot of in my personal life, there's a lot of clients that I actually do reverse mentoring with. Just teaching them, hey, this is what's happening in London, or this is what's trending.
Yeah.
So it's also in organizations, it's their responsibility to implement stuff like that.
Yeah.
To really be able to connect with people that don't sound like you and don't look like you, and don't just do it because, as I said, guys, we're not doing the tick box here.
No.
We're not doing it. We're doing it because you want to be open-minded, and ultimately it's not about being a better employee. You want to be a better human. The more open-minded you are, it means the more you can be a human being.
Want to learn.
You want to learn, exactly.
Yeah. I would love to know actually if anyone could let me know in the chat if you've got a reverse mentoring scheme where you are.
Or if you feel like you need it.
Yeah, I think it could be really powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
I know some leaders that I've definitely worked with, not at Blink, would really benefit from speaking to a young person to know what they care about, because sometimes you are so far removed. But yeah, let me know if you've got reverse mentoring. That sounds like a really great initiative to do it the right way, obviously.
The right way, yeah, for
I feel
sure.
like we could talk about that for hours, but I've got to crack on. Okay. We've just talked about doing it in the real way, being genuine, being human. I do think sometimes it's hard to avoid the cringe factor.
Yeah, of course.
Because I sometimes communicate with good intentions, but like I said, I'm painfully millennial and sometimes it is cringy and sometimes I embrace the cringe. But when you've got a large organization, you're super disconnected from them. I'm lucky to work in a place where, I know everybody, but that's not always the case. So as much as we want to get out and meet Gen Z where they are, I feel like it's very hard to do that in an authentic way when you don't know these people. So how can a Gen X or millennial really speak effectively in terms of, is it language? Is it contacts? Is it platforms? How do we make sure we don't, just do a weekly meme that's jumping on a trend? Because that could just be a bit cringy and you're thinking, okay, thanks, comms team.
Yeah.
And you get no engagement. So I'm trying to understand here how we avoid the cringe factor.
Do you know what? Sometimes just ask. I think with those that are Gen Z, they're honest, If
It's true. They won't hold back.
They won't hold back. Maybe ask them and just be like, guys, do you think using memes is cringe? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, what type of memes cringe you out? What
Yes.
type of memes is
Yeah.
very cringe? What type of memes is not so cringe? And just invite them into the dialogue.
Yes, love that idea.
I think that is where a lot of organizations go wrong. They're trying to scramble to dictate to find the perfect answer.
Yeah.
Have you asked them for their opinion on what answer you're trying to form?
Yes.
Ask them for their opinion. Ask them if it's cringe. Ask them if they think it's impactful. Ask them if they think there's any benefit of these memes.
Yeah.
Because as I said, if it's not natural, if it's ingenuine, they're going to sniff it. So I think it's really being able to ask them for their honest opinion. And trust me, they won't hold back. Maybe do an anonymous form, because there is sometimes a bit of fear, especially with a lot of my friends that are in the workforce. There's a little bit of a fear in terms of, if I give my honest
Yeah,
opinion,
speak out. Are you going to be?
am I going to get sanctioned?
Yeah.
Right? So maybe it could be an anonymous, an anonymous kind of thing of, hey, can we, hey, guys, we want to do a review as to whether you thought this was cringe or not. See a percentage. If 80% say that the meme was cringe, don't use it again.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could run, polls and that sort of thing with options. Which is the least cringiest, or which way would you best like this new platform to be rolled out?
Yeah.
Or, that sounds great in terms of trying to get involvement, because that's a good way to drive engagement as well, asking people and letting people feel they've been heard.
Literally.
As well. I'm just going to jump very briefly to the Q&A box, because we've got quite a few, and I'm conscious of time. So Lauren has asked us, how do you draw the line between fun and engaging, but still keeping it professional?
That's so good. Let me say this, Lauren. you can still be professional and still have fun, but make sure you are a fun person. Before you focus on being a fun professional, be a fun person. And what I mean by that is if you are somebody that actively goes out to, let's say, for example, the jazz club, and then now everyone knows you go to the jazz club, that means you love music. So when you dance or maybe when you do something, people are going to know that's natural to you
Yeah.
because that's what you do.
Yeah.
But if you are literally the most monotone, strong-headed human,
And then you've
now
got
out
your
of nowhere,
cheerleading
you're-
pom-poms.
Right, people are going to be
Yeah.
like,
What are you doing?
Where did this awkward? People will be like, where did this come from? So I think it's being able to understand that fun and engaging is different to everyone. It just has to be genuine. I
Yes.
think the key word here is be genuine.
Genuine.
Like my fun and engaging may be different to Georgie's fun and genuine, fun and engaging. But because what's genuine to me, because you can generally see I'm having fun because I'm being myself, other people will feel
Yeah.
it. But if
And then it's infectious.
it's infectious.
Yeah.
If you do fun that is not your type of fun, people will sniff it. But if it's actually fun to you,
Yeah.
people will feel it.
And I do understand that it can be a really fine line, isn't it? Because you think, I really want this to come across as engaging and fun. And then you think, hang on, I've gone too far on that.
Right.
People don't actually know me. So I understand it is a very fine line to get
Yeah.
right. But you're right, focus on what feels authentic.
And one thing I definitely will say is, let's say, for example, utilizing the app in terms of Blink. When we're thinking about posting, I definitely would say it's also sometimes posting your personality in the posts. Does that make any sense?
Totally.
So-
Because it's how you talk,
Right.
isn't it? Yeah.
Right. So there might be, like for me, when I type you, there might be times when I'm typing and I put just the letter U. That's just me, right? And that's sometimes just how I type. And even in terms of my social media, if someone says thank you, I may comment and say thank with the letter U with a love heart. That's how I type. People know that for me.
Yeah.
So maybe it might be typing how you may type, even on apps or, maybe not necessarily emails, because I know that some people, hey, the email game is it may be too unprofessional if you do that. But on social media apps like the LinkedIns or the Blinks or whatever apps you're using, making sure you're typing, naturally, but how you would type.
How you would speak as well,
Right,
I guess.
exactly, how you
Yeah,
speak.
because then it feels authentic rather than sort of a polished internal comms post. Okay, one more question here we've got from Audrey is how do you improve company pride through internal comms? We've got another question. How can you translate external channel engagement to internal and vice versa? So I guess how are you trying to show pride and values through internal comms? Like any initiatives that you've seen or examples we could give Audrey there?
Yeah, I would say number one, Audrey, one of the things is really being able to understand what is it that your company cares about and how can we ensure that we communicate it best with obviously the internally, what do people actually think is best? Because I think every organization is different with their internal comms. So I think it's really being able to understand, okay, what was effective and how can we be consistent with what's effective? I think a lot of companies are focusing on the new trends, but sometimes it's actually just innovating on the old ones.
Yeah.
So it's really being able to invite other people into the conversation that can review what has worked in the past.
Yeah.
Guys, how can we maybe just switch it up? We don't have to change it. Just switch it up that becomes relevant for 2025 or 2026. It's not a new year, new me. A lot of people are like, new year, new me. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the
I can't.
same.
Yeah.
And I'll go, this is not the same thing, but let's say, for example, with Big Mac, right? Big Mac is a constant in McDonald's. But sometimes they may
Thank
add-
goodness,
that-
sorry.
right, it's a
Big Mac
yeah,
fan.
it's a constant, which means that if I go to America, if I go to Britain, if I go to Dubai, if I go to Hong Kong, I will get the Big Mac because it's likely it's going to be the same. But there might be a 2025, they come and say, let's add a bacon to the Big Mac.
Is
Still
that-
the same, but it's innovation. And that's what I mean in terms of what is the constant thing that you feel has worked in the past.
Yes.
And
that
then
is like solid staple,
right,
like
and then
trustworthy.
add a bacon.
Yeah.
That just a little, and then see how that works. And then maybe the bacon becomes so popular, it now becomes a whole other
Other
burger.
staple.
Right.
To be honest, I think that might be an unpopular opinion, Hayley, because
Why?
I'm not sure about adding bacon to a Big Mac.
Oh yeah, no, I personally wouldn't.
Whoa.
I personally wouldn't. I just would just do.
Just using
Big
that
Mac
as an
myself.
example.
An example, guys.
Sure,
example.
Amazing. So one more question, and then Hayley, you very kindly put some slides together just as a bit of a wrap up and take like sort of core takeaways. So let's go to with so many ways to get your message to Gen Z, how do we make sure we don't lose our message in the tactic?
Oh, that's so good. I would say passion. I genuinely feel like those who are young, those who are Gen Z, know when you're passionate about something. It's kind of like when you're in college, or college in terms of Americans, but university here in the UK, the monotone lecturer, it does not care the fact that they're a PhD or a doctor or professor. They could probably know 10 different languages. They're respectful in their field, but because they're monotone, you actually don't care what they're saying.
Yeah.
Showing that personality and showing that tone, delivery, and engaging, or maybe because of the fact that I'm a public speaker and I do a lot of public speaking for a lot of people, it's really actually about personality. How do you deliver your personality? It's about tone, smiling, laughing, letting people know it's not that deep. And what I mean by it's not that deep is, guys, there's a lot of stressful things already happening in the world. Don't be stressed about whether your message makes sense or not. Just have fun. Be human. Even if you have a spelling error, just be like, "Whoops, it happened. I'm human. I'm not AI." You know,
Yeah.
it's
Don't
not, I'm not. I ain't ChatGPT. Some things that might make sense. I may stutter a little bit when I'm speaking, but I've got heart. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is where a lot of people need to get away from. They need to get away from perfectionism and get away from getting it perfect.
Yeah.
I think have a heart where you're willing to learn. And I think with any young person that knows you're genuine and you're open to learning and improving, I think genuinely the message will always come across. Like, it may not be perfect, but they're going to get the sentiment of what you're trying to say.
Thank you, Hayley.
Yeah.
I do think it's a difficult balance, similar to the last one in terms of the professional and the fun. Is, there are a lot of different tactics out there, even within, Blink, the employee app. Shameless plug number 3 is, the opportunity to use a feed post, image poll, add a story, feature something.
Yeah.
Do a live stream. So I understand there are a lot of tactics, and understanding how to deliver that authentically, but so the message still lands, is a really tricky balance. So thank you for sharing your wisdom there, Hayley.
Thank you.
Could we go to Hayley's slides, please? Hayley just wanted to do a bit of a wrap up, and if we've got any time, we'll get to the rest of the questions as well. Hayley, thank you.
Yeah, no worries, guys. I just wanted to give you guys a 2-minute Gen Z trends, 2-minute examples, kind of going through this. If you can go to the next slide for me, please. All right. So one of the things you guys need to just remember when it comes to social media, when it comes to any message, is the fact that trends is a big thing. There's songs that trends, there's dances that trends, there's challenges that trends, and trends is actually what grows particular platforms. I'm married, and my husband was able to grow his TikTok actually from he grew his TikTok from 1,000 followers to over 100,000 followers in the space of 5 months because he started a trend on TikTok. Right? So trends are really, really important to growing following, growing the conversation, getting people involved. So I did something here to break down what are trends. Micro trends are the popular within a niche. So my husband was a niche. For example, his one was of a faith, religious background in terms of Christian. And macro trends is what's popular within culture. So if you go to the next slide, I've got some examples. So a micro trend is here in a British niche was EastEnders live episode. People are crying. The topic is Martin's dead, right? Which is a popular character. He passed away in EastEnders. People were crying. This was the meme that was trending because Sonia is a popular character in EastEnders, and Sonia is his first wife, right? So this is a micro trend that was trending. Then number 2 is a macro trend. The Grammys is more, is more universal, it's more global.
Was way more global,
Way more global.
Yeah.
EastEnders is specifically for Britain, and macro is specifically from now global, all the brands watching it, millions of views. So it's really been able to understand the micro trends. What's the niches? So what niche may particular young people be interested in? So what I just said in terms of gaming, there may be vegan. It may be the fact that they, like dogs, cats. Those are niches, and understand what's trending in the cat world, what's trending in the dog world. Because if you are somebody that you want to push more dog products, you need to know what's trending in the dog world.
And also, there can be communities in the workplace, right? And then you can get engagement within those communities. So I think it's, staying on top of these. But again,
the resource groups, get in touch with those, creating those resource groups, discussing these things within the resource groups so that you're actually getting trends that are trending within particular niches, but also looking into what's trending today. Hey, next slide for me, guys. So similar to what I just said in terms of micro and macro influencers. So someone just said, what's the easiest way to find out what's trending? Guys, I'm literally about to plug this to you right now. Micro and macro influencers. Normally, micro and macro influencers are doing trends. So if you are finding it hard to find the trend, find what the micro and macro influencer is doing, what they're singing, what they're dancing to. It's likely that it's trending.
Yeah.
So a micro influencers, these are influencers who may not have a huge following, but they have a very engaged community. Guys, keyword here is an engaged community, which means that they may have 1,000 followers, but if they post a picture, they're getting 500 comments, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and Alan just shared a good example here that an old company had a pets group, and it had more members in there than lots of other groups even added together.
Wow.
So it's using those opportunities of, shared values, communities internally to be able to jump on trends and use that as a metric for engagement.
Shared values is super important.
Yeah.
And macro influencers is they have huge following, but they're kind of like mini celebrities within their niche. So as I said, a Kai Cenat, a Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast he's an influencer, but he's also somewhat a celebrity.
Yeah.
He can't go down the road. People will follow him.
Really?
If Mr. Beast is literally in like somewhere like a mall, kids will run. They will run. Yeah, they will run. He's like a celebrity. So if we go to the next slide, I've got Mr. Beast here. A micro influencer here is in the UK. We have a culture called chicken and chip shop, right? Everyone likes chicken and chips. It's a known thing here. We have a micro influencer here who's called the Chicken Shop Guy, who literally reviews chicken and chip shops in the UK. That's what he's known for. So if you see this guy with the chicken, eating the chicken, you know that this is a chicken and chip shop guy. Then the macro influencer is Mr. Beast. He gets millions of views literally in hours. So we've got the micro influencer who literally caters to urban city London culture. Then we have the macro influencer who contributes to the wider YouTube digital world, right?
And also, Hayley, it's probably worth everybody here looking at their content, because like you said, what they're talking about, what they're dancing along to, who they're interviewing are also probably trending people, topics. Again, there are going to be some ideas there to be able to use in your internal comms. So these are probably good people to follow.
Right.
As great content anyway. So
for sure.
Enjoy.
If you go to the next slide. Just remember, as I said, guys, every Gen Z interest is different. It's okay not to know everything, but you must know what's relevant to you and what you're trying to push. So like what I said, guys, what is the agenda? What is the message? What is it that you want your teams to basically push out more? If there's a KPI, if there's a particular message you want to put out, it's being able to know what you want to push and know what is relevant to that. So as I said, in terms of Beyonce being shocked, there was particular products that retail is trying to push out. They utilized that trend. They utilized Beyonce to push that product. They made what was trending relevant to them. Yeah. So it's really being able to, as I said, not be tone deaf, but utilizing the trends and the memes and the influencers that align with what you're trying to push and what you stand for. And if it's done the last slide for me, I actually put together basically some resources that you can get. So literally, if you can scan the QR code, or I can definitely maybe send it to Georgie to send some emails over to you guys, literally in terms of what could be trending. So someone's asking, how do we find the trends? How do we know the influencers? Guys, I've got you there. I've got you there so that you guys have basically, what's the word? Is it like what's that word? I've forgotten now. It's out of my head.
Describe.
It's like not a content. It's the reference point. But at the end of the back of a book, it's not the contents page. What's a book? Yeah,
the contents, the bookends.
I don't know. It's the
cheat sheet, synopsis, index.
Index. That's it.
Thanks,
Shout out Kieran. Shout out Kieran. It's the index. I've got literally, or the appendix.
Or the
right?
appendix. Yeah. All good options.
The appendix.
Thanks,
Shout out the appendix gang and the index gang. I basically put together an index for you guys so that you could basically have laugh emojis, so that you guys have something when it comes to the trends and the influencers. And and I'm going to try and categorize it so that you can know how do you apply it to retail, food, who are the food influencers, who are the retail influencers, just so that you guys have things that actually align with your industry, should I say.
So Hayley's basically got a playbook for you.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Courtney from Blink has actually shared that in the chat. So you've got a link there and obviously the QR code. Just a quick one here. Will has asked, oh no, was it Will? Somebody had asked for your famous quote. Da, 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 da. And it's my favourite one as well. So I think we should definitely finish on that.
Yeah.
What was it about being yourself if you can't?
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
Is that the quote?
Oh, it's just so fast. I can't write it down.
Oh, it's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's my life philosophy. It's what I live by. Don't
Colette.
Yeah,
Yes, it was Colette.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, I've got many quotes. If you follow me on socials, you can see my quotes on my social media pages. I've got quotes for days. But on a serious note, guys, like, please, if there's anything I want you guys to take away from this conversation with Georgie, is just be genuine, be human. Remember that you are speaking to human beings. You're not speaking to an AI, you're not speaking to a computer. And especially because we are in an AI world, people are really forgetting the importance of humanity.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's easy, isn't it?
It's very easy.
Yeah, and it's more efficient. But you're right, it's so important. Like we're people, and it's better when we can connect on a human level.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. My final question, Hayley, is everybody that we're speaking to this year, whether it's on webinars or events or on the podcast, we are building a playlist.
Nice.
That's like an ultimate survival playlist for internal comms leaders because it's a tough gig, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So this playlist is like a bit of a hype playlist. We've got
Okay.
all sorts of music on there, but I want to ask you if internal comms were to be a song that you needed, like a hype song to help be a great communicator in your business, what would it be? And can we please add it to our playlist? And I also would love anybody here today to also please add to the playlist. We've got some absolute bangers on there already. But Hayley, what would yours be?
Mine would be...
I can see the cogs going, oh, so many songs.
Okay, if Eternal Comms in 2025 was a song, what would it be? Mine would be Wanna Be by Spice Girls.
I mean,
Yeah,
an absolute classic.
The reason why it says if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends, right? Which means if you want to love me, if you want to know me, you got to know what my friends are about, what I'm interested in, like
my vibes.
You got to
My
know my
community.
vibes. You got to know my community. You got to not just care about me. You got to care about the things I care about.
Yeah.
So going into internal comms, as I said, you can't just want to catch them. You've got to catch what's around them.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Totally.
So Wanna Be, Spice Girls. I hope that was good for you guys. Spice Girls Wanna Be. If you don't know that song, if you're in a crazy mood, I sound like a radio host right now. If you're in a crazy mood, you want to be in a better mood, go and do Spice. I promise you, this is not a paid ad. I've never met Spice Girls before. I don't know them, but it's a good vibe. It's a good song.
I love it. And we've got a great suggestion from Will here. It says, I want to be in the room where it happens. Hamilton, classic.
I need to watch
Could have told you
Hamilton.
that. What?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my
but I've heard
gosh.
great things. I need to
Okay.
watch it.
Yeah. We need it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it
Sort
actually.
that out. But there's some really good songs on there, which I just hope becomes this like ultimate playlist that we build throughout the year. That's is a safe space. We've got some good ones like The Climb. We've got Here I Go Again on My Own.
I love The Climb.
We've got Whitney Houston. I Didn't Know My Own Strength.
Oh yeah.
So there are some good ones. But before I go, I just wanted to let you know that we are going to be going live again in April with another panel, and this is hopefully a really nice tie from what Hayley's been talking to us about being human
I love that.
and authentic. And this is going to be with some fab speakers. Tiffin, who's a comms consultant, who's been the ex-chief communications officer at Neiman Marcus. We've got Becca from JD Sports and Patrick from EasyJet joining us. So hopefully a really nice mixture of voices there on our next session. So we'd love to see you there. And if you haven't already put something on the playlist, we'll be plugging it again there. But that's it from me. And Hayley, thank you so much.
Thank you for
I don't know
having
how
me.
we got that all into an hour. I feel like we could have spoken for ages. So thank you so much.
That was so fun.
And everybody, if we didn't get to your questions, we'll probably be doing publishing an FAQ with Hayley to those questions we didn't get to. You've got her QR code. And yeah, I guess have a great rest of your day or evening.
Yeah.
Hayley, thank you. And hopefully see you soon as well.
For sure. Enjoy, guys.